जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय। जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
So yesterday we were discussing about how it is important for the mind to be focused on a goal that helps us transcend the world of birth and death. And we were also quoting from scriptures, and we gave certain examples to explain that the process of controlling the mind, or the idea of controlling the mind, is relatively well known. However, in practical reality, it is not as easy as it seems. In fact, when Lord Krishna, he suggests to his friend and his disciple Arjuna that he must try and focus on the goal of his being there on the battlefield. It is to uphold the privileges and the rights of the citizens and the society, to practice a life of dharma, to practice a life of purity, compassion, cleanliness, austerity. These are the privileges that are afforded to people in society. And it is necessary that those who are in power, they help, or rather they facilitate the needs of the people to be able to access and avail of these privileges. So Krishna was trying to encourage Arjuna to do that. And to be able to help people, to be able to know what is really beneficial to people, one must be benedicted with good intelligence. Otherwise, what could be help, according to our perspective, could actually be harmful to someone else. Srila Prabhupada gives an example. He says that one would be very happy. In India, when generally one is happy because one has achieved, one has received some promotion, or one has had some material achievement, the norm in society is that you distribute sweets. just to let people know that you are very happy and you have had some material achievement. So anytime you see somebody with a box of sweets and is distributing it to people, the common response from the members of the society is that what achievement has been there in your life? What have you achieved? Did your children graduate, or did you get a promotion, or did you win your litigation? Because otherwise, why are you distributing sweets? So Prabhupada used that to explain a very pertinent point, a very, very important point. He said, if one distributes sweets out of one's happiness to people, then one wants everyone else to receive the sweets and be happy. But certain members of the society may be suffering from diabetes. They may not know it, you may not know it. And if they eat those sweets, then those sweets could affect them adversely. They could fall sick. So he says, just because one is happy and one is wanting other people to share in their happiness, one must be careful to see that one does not distribute sweets to those who are suffering from diabetes or high sugar levels. Otherwise, they suffer. Like here in the West. In India, if you come to India, you'll find people being very friendly. Especially when families from the West, from North America, they come to India for the first time, and if there's a large family and they have little children with them, then it seems that everyone is trying to approach their children. You know, there'll be people in India, you may be walking down the street and they'll just walk up to your child and kind of just want to be very friendly with your child, and you may not be aware of that. That is not the culture here, most probably. You may feel offended or you may feel intimidated. In fact, they may come up to the child and pick up the child and kind of hold the child in their arms, and you're like, is this person want to steal away my child or what? Because that's a culture. And sometimes if they are really feeling very friendly, they may give a hug to your child. They won't do that with adults, but with the child, they may hug the child and even give a kiss on the child's cheek. And you may feel that is this person an abuser? You'd want to be careful. But that's normal. People are generally, because it's such a massive population, everyone is interested in everyone else's private life. It's like the norm. If you're traveling in a train and you have somebody else sitting beside you, you're like, oh, so what do you do? How many children do you have? Are they married? It's like, what? You want to know my entire private life right there? And it's done so very openly. Sometimes it seems very aggressive, very aggressive. So one may feel very happy to distribute sweets, but one must be careful to know that these sweets could harm someone else's health. One must have that intelligence. One is an adult. One should be able to discriminate between what would be helpful and what could hurt someone. That is intelligence. One cannot later on try and justify, oh, I was only trying to distribute sweets so that you would eat sweets and be happy. Well, this gentleman isn't happy. In fact, that gentleman is suing you now. Yes? So one must use one's intelligence, and our intelligence, and it is not that just using intelligence is sufficient, but that intelligence should be able to discriminate between that which is favorable and that which is unfavorable. Let me give you another example. At an old age home, and especially for people who are losing their memory, and sometimes they were suffering from certain mental illnesses too, delusions of grandeur or delusions of who they are. There were two residents, two really senior in age residents in that home. They may be in their 70s, and somehow or the other they took a liking for each other and they became very good friends. Now, so they have dementia, they're suffering from dementia, some delusion, and they're undergoing treatment. Two friends in their 70s. So this home has grounds, with beautiful lawns and gardens, and it has rooms for them, and it has caretakers and swimming pool and other facilities for the seniors. On this particular day, let's say these two gentlemen, their names are John and Tim. So John and Tim are just lazing around by the poolside. It's a beautiful day, the sun is out. So they're just laying around by the poolside. Suddenly, John tumbles into the pool, and the pool is filled with water. So he's in the pool. And being old and also being mentally challenged at that point in his life, did John fall in the pool or Tim? John, I did say John, right? Okay, so John, I also have some issues with my memory, I guess. John was flailing around, his arms were flailing, and he was kind of drowning. There was no help anywhere around the pool, just the two of them. So Tim was not expected to offer any help. According to his medical condition, it was not expected that Tim would realize that his friend is in danger and would seek help, call out for help, or offer help himself. After 10 minutes, the caretakers came around and they found John. Not in the pool, but by the poolside. And Tim was hovering over him, trying to revive him. So what had happened is that somehow that Tim had jumped into the pool and pulled out John and had given him some first aid. This became the news of the old age home. Tim saved John. Like everyone was talking about it. How did this happen? They were kind of trying to figure it out. That what made John save Tim? And they were like, no, it went up to the management. Very soon the management was having this discussion. That very evening they were having a discussion that we must try and re-evaluate Tim's condition. That evening, everyone slept. So this incident happened late in the afternoon. Evening, everyone was taking rest. In the morning, when the caretakers go to wake up their wards, people that they take care of, there was shocking news waiting for everyone. In Tim's room, they found Tim hanging by his neck from the fan. And the fan was turned on. And Tim was dead. So just the previous night, I'm sorry, I'm very, very sorry. John was dead. John was hanging. John had fallen into the pool, right? So John had been saved the previous evening, and now John was hanging by his neck. And he was dead. So everyone was shocked, saddened by this news that why would John do this? Maybe he just didn't realize what he was doing. Maybe he just gave up. How should we break this news to Tim? Because they were going to reevaluate Tim and send him off. So they were thinking that this could again maybe escalate Tim's condition, his mental condition. So how should we bring this news to Tim? But they felt that better they do it rather than Tim hear it from somebody else. So they called Tim to their office and they said, Tim, we have a grave news to share with you. John is no longer with us, he's dead. And Tim said, no, he's not. They said, yes, he is. Now, I would want to warn you that please try and not be too shocked by this story. Alright? Remember, we are speaking about intelligence. Okay? No, he's not, said Tim. And they said, Tim, sit down. They made him sit down and they explained to him that today morning the caretaker went to John's room and, he hung himself from the fan. And Tim said, no, not he. I hung him from the fan. And they're like, what? Why? He said, yesterday he fell into the pool, so he was wet. I had to dry him out. So I hung him by the fan, so he could dry out. Now he is using his intelligence, but that is not really favorable, is it? No. It's not good intelligence. So, when Krishna approached Arjuna and explained to him, hey Arjuna, you have to see things in perspective. Arjuna told Krishna, I understand that, but in practical reality it's so difficult. Atakena prayuktayam papam charati purusha. Anichaneva varshne baladeva niyojita. I know everything, Krishna. I know this is right, this is wrong, this is appropriate, this is inappropriate. But then I see that even the most intelligent of all people, the most knowledgeable of all people, people who have been certified to be able to do the right thing, even they get confused. And sometimes they perform activities which is not recommended. They do that. Why would they do that? Athakena prayuktayam papam charati purusham. Why would they perform activities which are not recommended? It seems as if they are no longer in control. It seems they're impelled by certain force, certain other force which is much more powerful than their intelligence. What does one do in that situation? How does one handle that situation? And Krishna says, you have to. He says, The emotions that are born of the lower modes, that is what makes even a sober person perform activities which are not recommended. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajagun Samatbhava. Mahashna Mahapapma. Vidhinam Iha Vairinam. You should understand the lower modes to be your very enemy in this material world, O Arjuna. So that is what an intelligent person understands. Understands what are the options available and which must be chosen. So, yesterday, we said that ultimately, good intelligence works well if we also train the mind to become our friend. And the mind needs regulation, the mind needs guidance, the mind needs inspiration. In other words, the mind needs a spiritual master. And through association and service to the spiritual master, the mind can be trained to do service or seva. And by such seva, the mind establishes an objective to be achieved. A deity is established within the mind. This kind of seva or approach or worship is called as Manasa Puja. Worship within the mind. And that is what all of us are supposed to do ultimately. We're supposed to worship Krishna in the form of the holy names within our mind. Not that we have to chant within the mind. That is not its interpretation. The interpretation is that the holy names become installed in the mind as a deity. So just as we have deities here, when we are doing arati, we are focused on them. Similarly, when we chant the holy names, if we install the holy names as deities, sometimes it's just that form. For those who understand, whose first language is English, it becomes the English alphabets. For those who are French, I think it's still the Roman alphabets, right? The Roman alphabets. If you're Russian, then Russian alphabets. If you're Hindi speaking from India, then the Devanagari alphabets. That form is helpful, but more than the form is the sound. It's kind of what in today's world is perceived as martial arts training, to be able to perceive sound. All those various martial arts, dramas, movies, presentations, it's all about blindfolded people trying to do things, show their act just based on sound or the winds, feeling the movement of the wind, vibrations. So, the mind has to have the deity installed in it so that the mind does not wander. It does not run around. This Manasa Puja is prescribed for one and all. The neophyte understanding of Manasa Puja or worship in the mind is that, oh, I should chant in the mind, I should imagine in the mind. Whereas a real understanding of Manasa Puja is that I have to train the mind through regulation and practice such that the mind becomes qualified enough for the holy names to be installed there. Yes, just as you need to install certain gadgets in your kitchen, so you need to take, you need to do all the preliminaries for it. Where this is the space, if you need any pipes, if you need any fittings, you need to set it up for the installation. Let's say one wants to install Windows, then you need to format your hard drive. You need to get it ready for the installation. Similarly, if we want to install the holy names within the mind, we have to get the mind ready for that installation. There has to be some formatting that has to be done. So what is that formatting? That is training through seva. That is why we have to render service. Service helps us get trained. Especially menial service trains the mind. So yesterday we spoke about how sometimes we try to train our mind, but if the intelligence is not functioning well, then the training ultimately is not successful, it is not helpful. We spoke about the monkeys wanting to do Ekadashi fast. So the monkeys were trying to use their intelligence was motivated by material desires, and ultimately the monkeys could not perform the fast. Remember the story? Yes? So the monkeys could not perform the fast. And then very quickly, we narrated the story from the Brahma Vaivarta Puran about a Brahmana who worshipped or who rendered service to the Lord within his mind. So today we'll speak elaborately about this particular reference from Brahma Vaivarta Puran. So in India, the southern part of India, the south of India, there are the beautiful mountain ranges called as the Sahyadris. Within these mountain ranges, which is the abode of so many hermits and ascetics and beautiful plants and herbs and so many animals. In fact, even today, there are certain folk lores or beliefs that these mountains are also the residence of the demigods. Because many pious activities have been performed in these mountain ranges, the Sahya mountains of the Sahyadris. Within the Sahyadris, there is this beautiful mountain peak, which is the residence of Lord Shiva too. And here Lord Shiva released on this peak for certain reasons related to the welfare of the universe. Wanting the welfare of the universe, Lord Shiva on this peak, he released the river Ganga from his matted hair. And since the river Ganga appeared from his matted hair there and flowed down from the Sahyadri mountains, this mountain peak which is called as Brahmagiri mountain, since then she has been known as the Godavari or the Ganga of the south. So on the banks of the river Godavari are various holy places. There's so many saintly personalities and also kings who have performed their yajnas, their sacrifices and austerities along the banks of the river Godavari. She is Ganga herself. So they have sought her association and they have performed so many pious activities there. There are hundreds upon hundreds of holy tirthas, pilgrimage places on the banks of this river. And one particular holy place which has been there since olden ages is Pratishtanpur, the city of Pratishtanpur. This city had so many sacrifices performed over the ages that practically just as a part of the sacrifice, almost every single day there would be some demigod visit the city just to receive the ablutions that had been offered in the sacrifice. Sorry, the oblations that had been offered in the sacrifice, just to receive that. It's a very, very holy city. In that city, there lived a very poor Brahmana. Poor by choice. Somehow or the other was never interested in a career, was never influenced by any material aspirations. Simple goal in life. Bathe in the river Godavari, go begging for alms, and sit down and chant Hare Krishna. That was a simple principle in life. Now, since Pratishtanpur is a very old holy city, there are thousands and thousands of temples there. And people worship the deities within the temple very gorgeously. Occasionally the Brahmana would think that, I wish I could also serve the deity. And then he would think, oh my God, but then I'll have to have a place and then I have to work for it. And no, I'll just continue on with my life, bathing in the river Godavari and going and begging, seeking alms and chanting Hare Krishna. But now that the desire had been within him, it would come up time and again. I wish I would also have a deity and I would worship the deity. There was this holy occasion where hundreds upon thousands of saints from all over would come to Pratishtanpur and take their holy dip in the river Godavari. And when such an occasion arises, then the general populace would also come there to seek the association of all the saints, because all of them would congregate in one place, and if you visit that place, then you get the association of so many saintly people. It is like the Walmart of saints. That was the occasion. So you could go and just go down any shelf and take whatever you want. So he went to this Walmart of saintly programs. He was right there, so there would be so many discourses in the evenings and discussions amongst people. So in one such discussion, where so many, dozens upon dozens of scholars and saints were having a discussion on deity worship. And the point that was being raised again and again very powerfully was that one should be able to worship the deity within the mind. It's so easy to worship the deity within the mind. It's so practical to do that. At the same time, because people's minds are not controlled, they're not able to do it. So they were having this discussion, and he was right there in that discussion and being influenced by what everyone else was saying. Finally, and also his desire for so many years of worshiping deity, finally he came to the conclusion that I am going to worship Krishna in my mind. So within his mind, he went searching for a beautiful deity of Krishna. Sorry? Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? I think, let me try something else.
This shouldn't be the instrument.
Krishna. This is better. Yes, I was fallen in the darkness of ignorance. And the spiritual master came and lifted me out. That is a feeling I get right now. So, he went searching in the marketplaces. Now, if you're in Vrindavan, typically Loi Bazaar. So he went through Loi Bazaar in Vrindavan. He went to this shop and that place, and finally found a deity according to his desire. Everything in the mind. So he haggled for the price, he paid for the deity, all within the mind. He brings his deity home. And now he needs to install the deity. So, well, the deity is here, and since he needs to install the deity, he realizes that he needs to have an altar. So now he goes shopping out again in his mind. And he goes looking for good wood, teak wood. And then he finds a carpenter. And he asks his carpenter that, could you carve out a beautiful altar for my deity? And the carpenter asks, what kind of altar? And he says, just like Indra, the king of heaven, has an altar like that. The carpenter says, all right, but then you need so many jewels and precious stones. And he says, no problem, I'll get all of them. What's the problem? It's in the mind. So then he goes looking for all jewels and precious stones, and he goes collecting jewels and precious stones. Now, since he's a poor Brahmana, he doesn't steal from anywhere. So he goes purchasing all of that. He gets gold, and he gets silver, and he gets precious stones, and he gets jewels, and he offers all of that to the carpenter. The carpenter is a really honest fellow. There's a gorgeous altar that he builds for his deity. An altar suitable for worshipping the deity in the palace of Indra, the king of heaven. Now here's his altar. He has a deity. Now he has to call great personalities to come and help him invoke Krishna in the deity, beg Krishna to come and serve. Beg Krishna to come so that he can serve Krishna in the deity form. So he sends out invitations to all saintly personalities in his mind. And they all come. They are all wanting to come to help him have his deity installed. See, it's so easy to worship the deity within the mind. And there's a grand installation ceremony. Grand. And one of the saintly personalities brings a beautiful deity of Radharani, and so Radha and Krishna are installed. So now he looks around to find the best traders to send him incense, flowers, ghee from pure Indian breed cows, milk, all of that. So he kind of sets it up. And every single day he worships his deity. So much splendor, such opulence within his mind. Half of his day, every single day, he simply spends worshipping the deity within the mind, collecting flowers for the deity, washing the altar every single day with the water of the Ganges river, cleaning the altar, setting up the seat for the deity. Then he collects bhoga for the deity and makes this wonderful preparation within his mind. He's like, okay, today I want to make pizza. He has no idea what pizza is, but then he can make it within his mind. Then he says, why not noodles? So he makes noodles, and then he decides idlis, so idlis. And then another day is like, let me just make khichdi. So he makes khichdi. to his heart's content, every single day, he's worshipping the deity at that. One day, he wants to offer sweet rice to his deity. So he goes to some place, to Hawaii, to get the best rice from there. Prabhupada said, oh, this rice is as good as the rice from the heavenly planets. And Prabhupada got rice from Hawaii. It was so fragrant. He said, this is just like the heavenly planets. So our Brahmana from Pratishthanpur in South India went to Hawaii to get the rice from there. And then he went to Swargaloka, to the Kamadhenu cows, to get milk from there. And then he got sugar and he got various spices and everything. Collected all of that. And he came back to his kitchen. And he put on the stove, put the pot, put in all the ingredients and stirred it and stirred it and stirred it to his heart's content. And finally the sweet rice, creamy, golden in appearance. It was like steaming hot, ready to be offered. But then he realized, oh, maybe it's too hot. The deities may not be able to eat it. It's too hot. So he waited for some time within his mind. So there are all these fumes coming out of the sweet rice, the steam within his mind. So he's waiting for all of that to settle down, to cool down. And finally, when he does not see any more steam and it's kind of, the surface is looking covered with a thick cream, he feels, all right, it must be cool enough. But how does he know it's cool, if it's cool enough or not? So he takes a spoon and he picks up a little sweet rice and puts it in his palm. There are other references where he actually just puts in his finger, but I've changed it depending upon the Western understanding of cleanliness. So he puts it in his palm. Ouch! It's still hot, it's burning hot. He obviously cannot throw it, so he's holding it. And then he puts it back into the pot. Wow, it's so hot, it's so hot, it's so hot. And the pain brings him out of his meditation. So now, all of this was happening within his mind. So he was just peacefully sitting there and he was worshipping the deity and offering sweet rice or making sweet rice within his mind. But the pain of having that sweet rice burn his hand brought him out of his meditation. It broke his meditation. He was back in the external world. He could see Pratishthanpur. He could see the river Godavari. He could see people in his village. And then he saw his palm and it was burned.
Wow.
And he's like, where is the sweet rice? There's no pot. There's no sweet rice. But his palm is burnt. His finger is burnt. Not really burnt, but it is red. Now when Krishna saw this, he is in Goloka with Srimati Radharani. Krishna goes like, wow. He's like amazed. He's completely mesmerized by the devotion of this Brahmana. Krishna goes, wow. And Radharani is like, what are you wowing about? What's happening? He says, I want you to meet someone. And Radharani says, all right. And Krishna, he tells the local Vishnu Dutas there, go to Pratishthanpur and bring this person here. So they go to Pratishthanpur and tell the gentleman, hey, Krishna wants you. He says, okay, what about the sweet rice? No, nothing like that. So he comes back to the spiritual world. That is how the story ends, the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. that when one becomes proficient in installing the deity within the mind and worshipping the deity, then there's no difference between the worship within the mind and one's physical reality. One transcends the barriers that bind us to this material world in terms of time and space, in terms of the three modes of material nature, in terms of the 8.4 million species of life. We are no longer bound by any of them, for we are liberated, serving Krishna. Hence the mind is the cause of bondage, and the mind is the very cause of liberation. So if we can just go on doing wonderful service, realizing that this service, the service that we are rendering day in and day out over the ages, that service will train the mind. Through such training, the mind will be qualified enough to be able to accept the installation of the deity of the holy name. And when the holy name is installed in the mind, then we can focus on the holy names and happily chant our way back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
When you say service, seva, and all those things, I mean, there's so many things we do. Is there any grading system? I mean, I know that the bhav defines or the attitude or the emotion and all those things, but in general, on the book standards, anything like that.
Yesterday we spoke a little about the seva. There is Nitya Seva and Naimittika Seva.
Nitya seva, eh?
Naimittika Seva.
Oh, no.
So Nitya Seva is seva that you do every single day because that is your regulation. That means waking up, taking a bath. If you worship the deity, so wake up the deity, worship the deity. Chant the holy names. No? Things like that is Nitya Seva. Then there is Naimittika Seva. Now if you are living in the temples, so then the temple program becomes your Nitya Seva. There is Naimittika Seva. Naimittika Seva is seva that you do occasionally, when the occasion arises. So if you are living away from the temple, then visiting the temple becomes your Naimittika Seva. Then there are certain services at the temple that you may do, that becomes your Naimittika Seva. There are festivals that you celebrate, that becomes your Naimittika Seva. Going on pilgrimages, that becomes your Naimittika Seva. So seva simply does not mean a few things that we do in relationship to temple services. And if we just consider that, then we will be caught up in the details of that small aspect of what is seva. So when you speak of gradation, maybe you're wanting to know something related to those details.
I'm not able to put it in my English.
Like, should we chant? Should we worship the deity at home? Should we do book distribution? Something like that. Is that what you are asking? That is what I kind of...
No, you address it the way I want it. So,
okay,
yeah,
so...
that's what I...
Yes.
So in other words, you're saying that the Nitya Seva is our regulation, so nobody needs to...
Nitya Seva is that which you do every single day because it is your regulation. It is a regulated practice.
But the other Naimittika Seva, we should not lose the opportunity if it arises. That means...
Oh, we should never lose the opportunity for seva.
Yeah.
Just because Naimittika Seva comes about occasionally. It is not that it comes about occasionally. Naimittika seva is seva that is done on occasions. When occasions come, when there are special tithis, when there are special days, those sevas have to be performed, like Ekadashi. It is Nitya Seva and Naimittika also. Naimittika because it comes on occasions. It comes on the 11th day of the waxing and waning moon. And it becomes Nitya Seva because you do it as a regulated practice. Yes? So, Naimittika Seva is not optional. It is also something as important as Nitya Seva. It is called as occasional service because these services don't come every single day. They come only on special occasions.
Like Utsav.
Maybe Utsav, that is one, festivals. Tithis, appearance day, disappearance day. These are Naimittika Sevas. You collect flowers for the appearance and disappearance day of the acharyas. You make arrangement for their worship. You do fasting. You glorify them. So, all of those activities. Naimittika Seva. Okay, is that all right? Okay. Yes, any other questions? Yes, bro.
In relation to what Surendra Prabhu was asking about occasional service, it's, in my experience, it's easy to get inspired. Something, if it's happening occasionally, inspiration naturally comes.
Yes.
But if something has to be done on a regular basis, it's very difficult to maintain inspiration and focus and to avoid being mechanical.
Yes.
So if you can make some comments how to avoid, how to be inspired doing Nitya Seva. Maintain inspiration
yes.
and focus.
Yes, yesterday I think we, this very point we mentioned that a Nitya Seva is that which we have to do regularly because it is a regulative principle. Right? It's that. So that is important for a training. And Naimittika Sevas which come on occasions, they provide more inspiration for us to go on with the regulative practices. So if we take up to the Naimittika Sevas, the services that come on certain occasions with a lot of enthusiasm, then that helps us to go on with our regulated practices with enthusiasm for some time. And then because we are doing those regulated practices, we are able to have enthusiasm to perform a Naimittika Sevas too. They support each other, yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you
You're welcome.
for coming to our meeting here. So my question actually is relating to these points and in intelligence. So if one wants to render some seva, like Nitya Seva, some
Yes.
regular, sweeping on Saturday morning in the temple, something small. How does one, because you were saying the Brahmana, he wanted to have a nice altar, but then to do it right, he had to do this, and in order to do that first, he had to do this, and that. So he was committed all the way. He was committed to preparing the heart, the mind. So, yeah, if you could just speak a little bit about that, because my concern would be, see, just for little old me, I would maybe be willing to try something because I'm inspired, but then I'm not really inspired for the long run. So how does one prepare oneself so that when he's offering himself for service, even if it's something small, that he knows what he's doing, that he's going for it, like he or she will stick with it, and also, whatever may come on occasion, he also has inspiration for that. So, in other words, positively offering oneself to whomever, a devotee, and ready to follow through, to be serious. So, I'd like to hear a little bit about that, if it makes any sense.
Sure. Yes. It's basically about commitment. And how do we, if I understand, how do we find the enthusiasm to keep up our commitments and also have commitments, also practice that helps us be faithful to our commitments, helps us be committed for the long run. That's what you were suggesting.
In other words, the commitment is on a good foundation.
On a good foundation,
perhaps, maybe.
The Brahmana was able to come and participate in the discussion because of his years of having practiced a life of simplicity, according to what he understood was simplicity. Bathe in the river Godavari, go seeking alms, and chant Hare Krishna. And whenever he would be a little distracted, like, oh, what if I had a deity? And then you'd, but there's so much involved in that. Let me keep my life simple. So years and years and years of such practice helped him train up his mind, fix up his mind. In our discussion, we also kind of brought up the point that for such training, it is important that we have strong intelligence. Otherwise, the mind is always very agitated. The intelligence helps it helps to dovetail that agitation in a way that the agitation goes down and you also perform, you also achieve some results. So that intelligence comes by association and service to the spiritual master, spiritual masters. It's not possible otherwise, at least from the scriptural point of view, to have that kind of intelligence. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnananas tattvadarshina. Because they see they visualize what is the absolute truth. Hence, they would be able to offer us that vision too. Who? These spiritual masters. Hence, we must go and approach such spiritual masters and have regular association with them, which is pariprashnena pranipatena. This is association. Pranipat and humility. We seek their association, and pariprashna is we get our clarifications from them, clarity of vision. And service. So association and service to the spiritual masters gives us that vision. So that is the intelligence that we need. Where does one find such association and service to the spiritual masters? That is the duty of the disciples. Mitpanya sotyam brahmanishtam. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum evabhigachet. A disciple must seek a spiritual master. Moment to moment. So this is not just one spiritual master that you're speaking of. You're speaking of spiritual masters here. The tattva. So with such guidance, such association, such direction, and years or days, let us say days and months and years of simple practice in the early stages helps us develop the constitution for deeper meditation. So unfortunately, the crux of the matter is that there has to be a lot of hard work. And if we are committed to working hard, and if we are convinced, we have that faith, that conviction that this is the right path, then we will go searching for that commitment too. What does it take for me to get there? I want to do that. It's like when everyone else is being asked in the Mahabharata, there's this incident in the Mahabharata that everyone is asked, each of the students is asked, what do you see in front of you? What is your target? And Arjuna is like really committed to the target. He says the eye. What about the bird? I have no idea if there's a bird. What about the branch? I don't know what you're speaking about. So what do you see, Arjuna? The eye. And that's commitment. So everyone worked hard. All of the students worked hard. They all were good at archery. But somehow, Arjuna had that key which helped him open the treasure house of commitment. So, hard work and that conviction and faith. This is the right path. It gives us association and service. The spiritual masters, they give us the intelligence. This intelligence is helpful to pacify the mind and train the mind. And with such training over years, the trained mind helps us have a fixed goal. And then it took years for this Brahmana. It was not like within months. So many years of worshipping the deity within the mind. And finally one day, that incidence of the sweet rice burning him and it becoming his physical reality amuses Krishna enough that he tells the Vishnu Dutas, bring him back. Krishna is so very amazed, not just amuses him, but amazes Krishna enough. It's like, he needs to come back. This is fun. For him, there's no difference between his internal consciousness and the external existence. This is real fun. He needs to come back. Is that all right? Is that helpful?
That's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Yes.
You just said hard work, but in that process somebody is doing hard work, but sometimes if there is a little bit of intention of relishing or sort of enjoying, or I don't know how to say it in English, but to do that hard work, for example, it could be cooking or japa or deity worship or seva, temple or service. If there's a little bit of inclination or intention or sort of relishment, is there any deviation from the path?
When we say hard work, it does not have to be a torture.
It has to be enjoyed?
I'm not saying it has to be enjoyed. What I'm saying is, such hard work where there is commitment or there is this conviction is naturally enjoyable. Because it is what you decide to do.
It's like entrance exam in India, they do hard work, something like that.
So if you're answering the questions and the questions, the answers to the questions, you're enjoying it. Yes? So the process itself is anandam. It's anandam.
That's, yeah.
Alright?
Like it's transcendental.
It's transcendental, yes. The process is. Whenever we have some relishment, whenever, as a practitioner, we have to understand with the intelligence that we must accept that graciously and be grateful for that. If you're not able to accept that relishment graciously, with grace, with humility, and immediately offer gratitude, then that could stay with us as our achievement. That feeling that, I have achieved something. And as soon as it stays as an achievement, there's a danger of the false ego being inflamed. So whenever there is a feeling of some pleasure in a Krishna consciousness, we should have a grateful heart. Thank you, Krishna. I don't deserve this, but by your kindness and great mercy, you have offered this to me to make my practice a little more tolerable, a little more easier, bearable. This is you, Krishna, that offered it. It's like a small child, at home. Somebody brings candies for the child, but the child is convinced it's the father. As soon as the candy is there on the table, Daddy is here! Daddy got the candies! Well, it may be somebody else. But the child is convinced the father brings candies. Similar, devotee is like that. Anything that we receive in our lives, Daddy is here, Krishna is here, he has given this to me. Fun. Yes? Yes, bro.
Now I can't help but think the next thought is if it doesn't come out so nice, in other words, I'm not relishing it, and it's hurt, it's painful, then how to see that that's actually Krishna's
Mercy?
mercy as well. so that I can say, oh, I burned my hand, that's why.
Right.
If it wasn't, so I guess the other part, it's not a big desire to hear that answer, but you know what I mean? There's both sides, right?
There's both sides. It seems there's both sides. You see, when we take the onus and the responsibility that this is where my conviction is, once we take the onus, the responsibility, then you are ready to accept whatever comes. It's not anyone else's, not my spiritual masters, not Krishna's. This is my responsibility. That is my free will. So as soon as I use my free will, if it is a difficult task, it's an easy task, it's still mine. Hence it's enjoyable. Is it alright? Yeah? Okay. Anything else? So we can stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hare Hare.